Hey, wait a minute. This is not the normal intro
No,
to
it's not.
Tales to Godric's Hollow.
It's true,
The
but
number one something Harry Potter podcast.
Yeah,
the number Sonnenberg, as you all know. We have with us tonight our headmistress, Marissa.
What's up, guys?
you know, we're in that tower over there.
Try to keep an eye on that throughout the night. Otherwise, this is also our first foray into a call-in show. We are trying. We'll see how that works. Brent tells me that he has this all set up, that it's worked for his other podcast, so I trust him. We'll see what it does. But
completely unformat, but
it's true. Well, as far as I know,
yes.
I have never tested it. We did not test this beforehand because, as you'll find out a little bit later, Josh just told me about this afternoon, and I pieced this show together in a few hours. So,
well done, by the way, Matt. Well done.
Thank you. But yeah, tonight we are. That's what I was going to do. So the number for you to call in, that I posted it in Twitter, I posted it on Facebook. I was going to see if I could put it in an overlay on here, which I totally forgot to do. But the number is 864-729-2827. And actually, now that I think about it, we should probably just throw that in the chat that everybody can see.
So, I was going to do that, and then I realized I couldn't copy and paste it. So
Yep, there we go. So whenever you guys want to call in and talk about something, we only have one line. We don't have call waiting. We don't have anything fancy like that. But we can take calls, apparently. And all that I ask is, you know this show, keep it family friendly. It's live. There's only so much we can do. Brent, feel free to hit that hang up button or however this works. If you really
have
need
the power.
If you hear something you don't like, just cut them off.
Try to not be like me and Mel were. We said a couple of things you probably shouldn't have.
It was borderline, but then again, the final Harry Potter movies were PG-13, so what can I say?
It's fine.
Yeah.
We did our best. We did a lot better than we usually do on our own show. So
what I liked especially about that show, Marissa, is that you and Mel policed yourself live on the air.
Oh yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah. Live and unedited. That's what they do. I mean, that's what we do too, but we just have more practice at it, I guess.
Which
So,
and
90 minutes. This is not going to be a 4-hour episode. I guarantee you that my voice will not hold out that long. But
no.
If you guys want to keep talking past when I jump off the call, more than welcome. Beast 2, Crimes of Grindelwald. And there's some things in there that kind of made me start to wonder. And I want to get everybody else's thoughts on the trailer. I guess first things first, just overall impressions. What do you got?
Marissa, ladies first.
Oh, me first? Okay. The brand new trailer I just watched for the first time when Matt told me I had interested in the fact that they brought in the Mirror Erised, actually.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming into play. And why it was that he just saw Grindelwald's face. Don't understand what that means.
Yeah. I saw that, and I didn't pick up on it the first time through that that he was looking into the mirror, but I think this is probably going to be JK expanding on that storyline, the romantic side of things, which I mean, I've always said, like, it never really played into the story up until this point. It never in the canon Harry Potter series. And so she didn't need to touch on it. But now going back in time, spending more time with Dumbledore growing up, spending time with Grindelwald and finding out why they act the way they do, it makes more sense to bring it up. And so I think that's a kind of, understated way of saying, bringing that up into the conversation that, yeah, that's really what he did care about. That's what he desired.
Yeah, but in what sense? I don't know if we can necessarily say that he's seeing Grindelwald because he wants him romantically, because they always said it's not going to be overt. So I'm wondering if he's just, seeing him as not being a race overlord or something.
Or when Dumbledore is looking into the mirror. And which made me kind of think, like, can he use it almost like we would picture in other, magical circumstances, using like a crystal ball, to tell the future, right? And because, like you said, if it's his desire at that moment, like that's it could change from moment to moment, and depending on the situation, the gravity of the situation, it could really be his deepest desire.
And I mean, because I was also thinking about this. So the whole point when Grindelwald and Dumbledore were kind of in their cahoots in their planning phase and stuff like that, that would have been like early 1900s. Is that earlier in that trailer where we see Newt
defense against the dark arts is my question. Unless ridiculous is just somehow now a transfiguration spell, I have questions. I had problems with the whole thing.
Yeah, I had that same question, because I mean, I think they make a very strong point of almost like recreating the scene from the previous films, right?
Yeah,
where we're sitting there with Lupin, and we got the line of kids and not Dementor. Wow,
Boggart.
Yeah. Thank you. The Boggart is up there. It turns into a Dementor for some people.
Same classroom, right? Yes. Same classroom. Though.
It's the same classroom. It's the same. They're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's hard to believe that it's not supposed to be defense against the dark arts. But
why would you teach ridiculous in a transfiguration class? That makes no sense at all.
But think about it. Two things. What if, one, Dumbledore was the one who created the ridiculous spell? And two, is ridiculous in and not itself a transfiguration spell?
Yes.
Where you transfigure the Boggart into something?
And that's the theory that I've heard. Like, it still doesn't quite explain why he's doing it as a defense against the dark arts classroom, but it would kind of explain, because like you said, it's like the ultimate transfiguration spell. It like turns anything into whatever you're thinking about.
Sure.
Does it? It turns anything, or is it only?
Sorry, not anything. Yeah, it turns the Boggart into anything you're thinking about.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like that explanation. Seems like a cop-out, but fine.
Yeah. And I mean, and here's the other thing. So we know that Dumbledore was a transfiguration professor when he was
Calm Baldy. Okay.
Well, as Josh would tell you, it's canon. It's in the books, so don't worry about it.
He was so excited about that.
He was. That was
one of his most excited moments ever. It's adorable. But another thing I really liked that I didn't see coming was the fact that Nicholas Flamel was in the trailer at the very end.
Okay, I gotta tell you, I had to watch this thing like 4 times before I realized that's who that character was. Even though he says his name, I know. I just miss it every time. I was like, I've got questions. How is Jacob back in this story?
I've wondered the same as well. Once again, like I didn't know how they were going to bring him back in. Yeah. I kind of had the feeling that he would. He wasn't a one and done. He was too loved to be.
Oh, sure.
You know, just one and done. But it like the question is, like, did they just undo his memory loss, or is it well, you lost your memory, so we're going to teach you about this again. Over.
Maybe this becomes a theme for each movie. Like we wipe his memory.
The rom-com guy.
I don't mind him. My wife hates him.
There you go. Works out, I guess.
Kind of, sort of.
That's funny.
You just can never agree on a movie to watch.
Well, I just watch them without her. That's what Netflix on the iPad is great for.
I mean, that's true.
In any case, we seem to be spending a lot of time in Paris, as with Nicholas Flamel. With, we see Newt with the postcard. We hear Dumbledore. I guess the Aurors or the Ministry men, whatever they are, talking to Dumbledore about Newt going to Paris. And in the first trailer, actually, we get a quick shot. I actually had to have it pointed out to me, but there's a quick shot of this like domed area, and all across the dome are the names of magical creatures, and they seem to be in French. So we're assuming this is in Paris.
Okay.
But
is this like the circus thing?
It's not the circus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one quick shot, and it feels like another kind of ministry building or something.
Okay.
But we're just wondering, like, there's got to be some because like the ministry has a classification for all the Fantastic Beasts, right?
Right.
Like their beast rating. So I guess it's in my head, it's kind of like where that takes place, like where they study these creatures.
Interesting. Matt, if I may, just give a little shout out to everybody. If you've got thoughts on this, call us and talk to us about it.
Some people are.
Aware. Okay, some people are.
It's
just buffering for me. So when I jump over to it, it's just Brent with his lips pursed. I don't know.
It's in and out. But we'll keep going. Worst case scenario, this is being recorded and be able to. They can watch it on playback. Like I said, if no one calls in, We'll call it an early night. But number again is in the chat. If anybody wants to join us, that number is there. You won't have buffering over the phone line. We can talk to you live. We'll fill you in on what we're talking about, or you can just talk about whatever you want.
Yep.
So the other big thing is we know Credence is back in some form or fashion. What we don't really know is what exactly he's up to, who he's working for, and how much power he actually has. Because couple of times, like there's we kind of see this black mass going away from him, and then there's one some of the effects in the trailer, like I'm not sure if they're just not finalized or if like it doesn't feel like this is the type of movie that would give me a non-final cut scene in the trailer. But some of them look kind of questionable. Because like there's one scene that definitely just looks like a black cloth coming at them, right? It's not the stereotypical obscurial black mass that we've seen. It really looks like a sheet being pulled over.
Could be a swerve. It's actually something else, and they're making you just believe that it's obscures.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And that's what I think.
It seemed kind of more fluid in the way that a Dementor's fluid. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It struck me more Dementor kind of thing than the obscures would. But
so I guess my question to you guys is, where do you think Credence is at in this movie? First, is he by himself? Is he with Grindelwald? Is he with a third party that we don't know yet?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he is. Well, one, I don't think Grindelwald is going to be in this movie a whole lot, and I don't think he's going to be the focus.
Knowing whether or not Credence was going to be in the next one.
Yeah, I absolutely was not expecting him to be back. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seemed kind of odd for them to right off the bat, like they did with Jacob. What?
Let's is in. You are on the air with Matt, Marissa, and Brent. Who do we have here tonight?
Hi, this is Sarah with an H.
Hi, Sarah with an H. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Babbling until you called in. So what's up?
Well,
absolutely.
Yes, do it.
Okay, great. So I think the biggest thing for me about the first Fantastic Beasts movie was it kind of felt like a setup But based on the trailers of the second one, it sounds like the rest of the series is going to be a lot more interesting in terms of character development.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things from the first film is that she had to introduce so many new characters that we weren't necessarily going to get a lot of development. She just wanted to get them all in there so we knew the names and kind of what they're about, kind of where they were coming from. But I think, like you said, we're going to see a lot more of that in this movie. We're going to dive into, Dumbledore's history, Newt's history. And
yeah, I don't think we're going to get a ton of new characters that we're going to have to learn basic stuff about. So we can dive a little bit deeper into the people that we already know. And maybe the new people we have introduced, we won't hear much. So.
yeah,
I also feel like a big part of the first movie was the spectacle of all of the beasts.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember seeing that many new beasts in this trailer.
There was the one like black dog cat looking things.
Yep, that's the biggest one. I don't really started to figure out that he wanted to write this book or needed to write this book to save these beasts, and all the way up until it probably gets published is my guess. Because in that sense, it kind of reminds me of like Lord of the Rings, right? Because that kind of starts out, with I'm going to mess up the names, but Bilbo, I think it is that writes the book.
Yes, the Red Book. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's kind of just that journey that we're seeing over the course of these movies. And so what I didn't realize, like I from what we knew about Newt prior to the Fantastic Beasts series, like he was just this magizoologist that studied these beasts and wrote a book. I didn't realize how entwined he was into this story and how much like he helped Dumbledore along the way. I thought like Dumbledore gave him a recommendation, but it sounds like their back and forth is a lot deeper than what I initially thought. And so I think just along the course of his journey, he's going to hit these beasts. But like you said, it's not necessarily about the beast. It's about Newt.
Well, like what you said about how intertwined Newt seems to be with the rest of the story with Dumbledore, I think that kind of goes to show how small the wizarding world in Britain really is, because all of these people know each other.
Very true.
What kind of pops into my head when you say that is we didn't know Bathilda Bagshot was involved with Dumbledore or anybody else either until the very end of the seventh book. So
you know who probably did? Josh. Sorry, I had to. Because he knew Mrs. Fig was involved.
2 chapters
from
at a
the
time. How
first
could you
book.
not figure it out?
Sorry.
So I'm inclined to think that I think J.K. Rowling did know. I think some way.
Yeah.
I'm actually a researcher, and so I know how small the field of academia can be, and it's only that much smaller in the wizarding world. So yeah, I guess my answer is I'll bet J.K. Rowling always knew that all of these magical academics were connected, but I'm not sure that everything was completely fleshed out to the extent that they're going to be at these movies.
Awesome.
What do you guys think?
I would be kind of in the same boat. I think JK had, like I said, the major connections. Like for whatever reason, I mean, was it actually mentioned in the books that Dumbledore and Newt had that connection ahead of time?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing we ever got was, I think, in the third movie where you see Newt's feet prints on the no, the thing is buffering. You can't hear. Somebody just go ahead and call it in anyway. 864-729-2827. That's 864-729-2827. That also spells bucks in case you want to do it easier that way. But call in
I think a lot of my knowledge about it has actually come from listening to Josh and Matt recount the show. Otherwise, I didn't really remember any of the characters' names or a lot of the stuff that happened in it. So I'll definitely have to do a rewatch before we go see. I go see the second one coming up. But
Eric,
yeah,
Eric, don't feel
excited,
bad because
especially after
I
seeing this
haven't
trailer.
rewatched it either. I haven't rewatched the first Fantastic Beasts movie. Watched the first Fantastic Beasts movie either, so don't feel bad.
I've rewatched
yeah,
it once or twice, but not as much as
here.
Josh.
So yeah, I guess the couple of things that I noticed that were kind of little split second things in the trailer that I found kind of interesting were, I thought I saw a split second glimpse of the U.S. Capitol Dome in Washington D.C.
Interesting.
Possible.
Is that possibly the same dome, Matt, that you were talking about earlier that you were speculating was in Paris?
That could have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only reason we think it's in Paris is if you pause it on that clip, you get like I said, the names of different magical beasts that we've know and heard of, and some of them, start with "le." It'll be like "le Niffler." I'm like, okay, we're in France, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense because I mean the guy who designed the city of Washington was from France, so there's a lot of architectural similarities between the two cities. So I wouldn't be surprising.
Today I learned.
Yes, learn something new every day, they say.
I think I've heard that before, but I would not have been able to pull that out of memory. But yes, the French helped us out a lot, especially in those early days. So.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, and then the second thing I pulled out of that trailer was we got a very quick glimpse of the Elder Wand.
Yes,
we did.
Yes.
Did catch that.
It looks a little bit different in this movie to me. Like it looked black, and it just probably was the color.
That's a good point. It wasn't left hand.
I didn't even.
That didn't even. Eric, are you left-handed?
I am not left-handed.
Okay, Brent, you are.
I am,
nope.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
I totally hold my wand in my left hand.
But yeah, that never crossed my mind, and we maybe could narrow things down a little bit more. Going back and watching the other films, I haven't really noticed who's left-handed, who's right-handed. But like, if you follow the trail of the Elder Wand, it should not be Dumbledore at this point, because I don't think he won it until after the duel.
True.
So he shouldn't have it. A lot of people are of the opinion that the Elder Wand should belong to Newt, because he kind of took down Grindelwald at the end of the last film, which kind of makes sense if Grindelwald actually had possession of it at that point. Which do we know that for sure? Do we see it in the last film?
The Colin Farrell character who was Grindelwald in disguise, right?
Yep.
Was his wand the Elder Wand? And I don't know.
Well, I mean, regardless, it's just did the Elder Wand give its allegiance to Grindelwald at that point? Because we've seen this, with Draco. Harry disarmed Draco. He didn't disarm the Elder Wand.
Yeah,
he disarmed Draco, and it changed its allegiance.
Wand
so I mean, yes, Wand lore is weird, but it's pretty awesome too. So I guess my biggest question is, like, even if Grindelwald did have it at the end of the last film, was his capture like that enough for it to switch allegiance to Newt?
I got to tell you, it seems to me with the Elder Wand, especially when it chooses to switch allegiance, is not always
to the extreme.
Yeah, exactly. The Elder Wand takes it to an extreme, and it's like, well, I don't really feel like changing owners right now, so try again.
Or I really don't like you, so I'm going to make it so that I can get taken away.
Your bird clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What bird is that?
It's made its second appearance now.
I can't. I don't know. Whatever one's at 10 o'clock, I can get up and check. If you're really interested, I can tell you.
All right. Well,
do you really want to know?
Well, now that you're making a point of it, yes.
Okay.
We will now find out.
While she's doing that,
back there.
and also the fact that he got it because he disarmed Draco. Draco, anything else before we let you go here tonight, man?
Self laughing hysterically at some of the antics y'all get up to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. We're going to be coming back with season 3 at some point. Just keep an eye out.
All right, looking forward to it.
When they get
Awesome.
around to it.
Thank you so much.
Eric, thank you so much for your call. Eric with a K. That is
Beautiful.
Eric.
Really happy.
Guys, the phone line is open. If you want to call us, we will talk about whatever you guys want to talk about that is Harry Potter, at least somewhat sort of related, Fantastic Beasts. 864-729-2827 is the number. 864-729-2827. Thank you for dropping that in the chat room there, Matt.
I do what I can. I feel like you spout that number off a lot.
I don't know. There's all those kind of things. Like, if you
I-
didn't want someone to like see your number, it was like star 67, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I'm actually surprised you know about those, being a few years younger. Like, we stopped
27.
using them.
You old whippersnapper, you.
I was in high school before we got call waiting at my house.
I don't
We still
think
had
we
the phone in the kitchen with the really, really long cord.
Yes.
Best.
Yes. When I was in 8th grade, I think, I got my own room, and we put a phone in there. My one requirement was it had a cord long enough that I could reach the fridge.
Nice. I think you told that story.
I think I did. That sounds familiar.
I remember having a little thing on the bottom of the cord that would spin around so it would help keep the tangles out of the cord. You had to have the real-
Not too sure actually what the discussion is right now because having some issues with the stream there.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are having issues, but actually with the Y.
No, IE.
Ooh, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on the IE. I had a dog with a baby.
We can discuss it at some other point. Anywho.
What's up, Patrick?
Well, was just hoping to get in on the discussion. I was catching bits and pieces of the Fantastic Beasts. Last I was actually hearing was the discussion of the lack of beasts in the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
So where do we wind up going on that? If I could just get a quick recap.
Brent had an issue with the fact that the first movie was called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and it really wasn't about that.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. I think the beasts are kind of more a peripheral thing to the story. Because this is really, to me, this is more about Newt's story, and obviously whatever role he played in the downfall of Grindelwald.
But like the biggest complaint I heard about the first film was that it didn't feel quite as magical as the Harry Potter series, right? We didn't have that Hogwarts scene. We didn't have that magical community. It was just
It
kind
felt
of
more in the Muggle world than the Harry Potter movies.
I mean, they were running through. Didn't they run through Central Park Zoo?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And so I think.
Well, go
ahead. But yeah, I think we're gonna. The beasts will be ancillary characters, and so they're just going to pop up from time to time, and we will learn about them, and we will learn why Newt wants to save them. And one of the lines I saw or heard from the trailer, even, which I think was very had a double meaning to it, but he says it was one of the girls, which we haven't mentioned at all yet, but may have been Lita Lestrange, that says, "You're too good, Newt. You never met a monster you couldn't love."
Mm-hmm.
And just for clarity, Lita Lestrange is
as well. That's the big question, right?
Who is she?
I think we've heard. Well, Newt's had some with her, but is it he or she was engaged to his brother or something like that?
We're supposed to find out that she's engaged to Newt's brother in the next movie.
Yeah, something along those lines that may have slipped out. So It'll be interesting to see where that goes, but just that line kind of speaks a lot to Newt's character, because I would have to agree. I mean, not only the actual beasts that we're talking about as monsters, but if you apply that to people as well, I think Newt's kind of that guy who's not really going to give up on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
No. He's just too kind-hearted. I mean, he's shown that throughout the entire first film.
Yeah.
He's a Hufflepuff through and through. He is. It's true.
Queenie was the sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean Tina. Now, Tina is not the lady who goes on to become Newt's wife, and whoever that lady is, her name escapes me now. Somebody's gonna
pretty sure that that's Tina, but could be wrong. I don't know.
because I remember having this thought during the, and if I'm way wrong on this, then cool, I'm all for it. But that, like, that always felt like an ill-fated relationship, like the Lana Lang to Clark Kent. Like, you're not going to stay with him. Why is JK bringing her up? And
no, he marries Tina. I just said,
Yep.
I just googled Newt's commander wife, and that's who it is.
and it's Tina.
I'm not sure we've seen before. It's the one that's really big and hairy and has a long tail and fangs. Do you remember catching a glimpse of that one?
Oh, the one towards the very end of it, like yells or
Is it
growls.
At Comic-Con, I believe. And they had Eddie Redmayne there, and he gave it a name, but I think he said it was like some Chinese beast, and I could not find anything about it. So that makes me think kind of like, okay, JK told him what it was called, or maybe it plays a semi-important role in the movie, so he knows what it's called because he's been acting alongside it for the past months, years, whatever. But it may be something that's new to us. But the only thing I would question is, why isn't in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? Like, if Newt knows about it, it should be in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think.
Well, we're also not going to be able to put every single magical beast into the first movie, Matt. Just like we can't put deep character dives into the first movie.
But my point, but my point being, like, I don't think it's in the book that we got either. That does have dozens and dozens of beasts that we haven't seen in movie form yet.
Yeah. Fine.
Just a
You.
Okay, that
So it
sounds
was right on the Chinese aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Towel. Towel. You say it fast enough, it's just a towel.
They had some inkling, but when this came out, I don't think he even had necessarily read about them, right? Because like when we got to the Niffler in the Harry Potter series, that was like, wait a minute, this
Yeah. He started making the bow truckle too, right?
Yeah.
He actually had a frame of reference for it. And you and we all read it and just went, Niffler, whatever. Bow truckle, whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, but I think
Who's the Half-Blood Prince?
The other big thing was that it was the first movie that he got to see for the first time with all of us. And so he latched onto it a lot stronger than any of us necessarily did. I know my brother was in the same boat as you, that, yeah, you didn't necessarily enjoy it that much. It was a solid movie, but, you know, it's not necessarily what we've come to expect from the Harry Potter series. And like we've kind of talked about recently, is like that the character development wasn't there. The magical world, it wasn't there. The Hogwarts scene, it wasn't there. And already just from this second trailer now, we're starting to see, like, even if it is in a flashback or whatever the case may be, we're going to get a classroom scene at Hogwarts.
Right.
Yeah.
And just that little bit is going to be enough to bring it so much closer to the movies we already know and what we love about this series.
Yeah, I remember liking the movie all right when I saw it, and like I said, I haven't rewatched it. I actually have it on Blu-ray and just haven't done anything with it. But I liked it all right. I'd have to go back and rewatch it to really form an opinion, because I don't really have a solid opinion. It was fun. I enjoyed the characters that we met, but I couldn't really tell you where I'd rate it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It would be if I put it in line with the other Harry Potter movies, it would find itself towards the
one. I hate calling it a midnight showing now because
it's at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, they'll show like 8 o'clock and then also a midnight. And it's like, well, okay, fine, whatever. Movies just don't run the way they used to.
Yeah,
I'm getting old.
Back in the old days,
Friday release is going to come on Tuesday.
Yeah,
the week.
Maybe she's being a covert agent or something. I don't know. I like Queenie a lot. I like her as a character.
Yeah, I love her, and I just hope she's not going over to Grindelwald's side.
That's what I'm saying. Covert agent. Maybe she's playing both sides. Maybe she's a Snape.
Think
about that.
Thank you for pulling that out. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And honestly, like, I was surprised how much we saw of her in the first film. Like, I didn't know much about her going into the movie. Like, you hear about Newt and Tina and Jacob and all of them, but then there's the sister. It's like she was there, and when she's in the scene, she's kind of a big thing. But once we leave their place, like it's not really a big deal. Like we see Tina at her job, but Queenie's just kind of there, maybe off to the side in the background. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she's not that big a deal in the movie.
But they put her in the trailer like a few different cuts. They had her in there. It wasn't just like one time. Yeah, well, it was like 3 or 4 different times they showed her. We just seemed odd to do that and then not have her.
One point in the second trailer where she's like kneeling down with her hands on her head and she looks like she's almost in pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is something going on with her legitimacy? What's her story going to be in this? Because it looks like she's got an interesting side, probably a side story, not the main focus by any means, but I'm very curious because I love her as a character. I think she's wonderful, and I want to know what happens with her. Why are they there?
Well, the thing is, Nicolas Flamel from Paris or from France, because he went to Beauxbatons, which I hope we see, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. So it could just be a passing thing, like they throw this in, like, hey, we talked about him in the books, the original series. So maybe it's an Easter egg. I don't know if it really has anything to do with the story, but I could be wrong.
He already mentions being immortal as an alchemist, which makes him think Sorcerer's Stone, right?
Yeah,
like that's what he's known for. That's what he did. And so he somewhere, I would think, in this approximate time frame is when Dumbledore somehow gets in contact with him, and they or did that already happen?
Right.
If he says he's immortal and if he's hundreds of years old already, he must have had. Yeah,
and maybe Dumbledore, that's where he sent Newt to Nicolas Flamel.
Sure.
Or whatever.
That's what I'm thinking is maybe he's there working with Dumbledore covertly in some way behind the scenes and helping Newt out or something. But what does he have to bring to the table? I know he has the Sorcerer's Stone, but is there like a use of dragon's blood or something that'll help them beat Grindelwald? Like the 12 uses of dragon's blood? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Very possible.
Like let's remember, in this whole fight against Grindelwald, he doesn't die.
Right.
So I mean, I keep having that in the back of my head. Like, this is not going to be a fight to the death, unlike the the Voldemort one, right? Grindelwald will at most wind up in jail. And Nurengard. Yeah. So I don't know. Which, by the way, is not Azkaban. So he's not in a British wizard prison. He's in whatever country that's supposed to be.
Well, he made that prison to hold his rivals.
True, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's the irony. He gets held in his own prison. Yes.
Yeah.
But somebody has to control that prison in the quote unquote modern era, right?
Yeah, because I guess I never really thought of that, because we always talk about Azkaban and how it seems to be the only prison that we ever hear about, but we do have this other prison that we are told about, but we get 0 on it.
Well, and that's why I was a little bit disappointed when we went through the main series that Josh didn't have more questions about that. Like when we got to Nurmengard, and I think he actually remembered the name of the prison once, and I'm like, that was kind of weird. It's only mentioned like twice, but sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he never really questioned it, but he also, kind of missed the fact, with the sequence Harry was seeing what Voldemort was doing and going to kill Grindelwald and like all that stuff. He never really caught on to all that, so didn't really have too much of a chance to talk about it. But it'll be interesting to see how much of that we see in these films.
Yeah, I'm just super excited. I feel like I'm back to waiting for a new book, a new movie to come out and what they're going to do. I'm on the internet like every day trying to read up on the next thing that gets posted. I'm just stoked.
Kind of different though, because we don't have really source material to look at for. We can't compare it to a book.
That's
because
what makes it so interesting. It's more like waiting for the next book to come out, what we used to do for the next books, than it is for the movies. But I'm super excited for November. So thanks for talking with me, guys. Super excited for November. So thanks for talking with me, guys.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
Connection to the circus, I think it's safe to say, right? Like he can do some weird things, so it seems like the place he'd hang out. And so if she's turning into a beast or has some connection to beasts like this, it makes sense for her to be there too, right?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like they would bond over the fact that they have something inside them that's trying to take them over. That's how I always viewed it. Because he probably feels like the Obscurus is trying to take over his body, and she has a blood curse that is ultimately a beast is going to take over her body, basically. So that's what I always thought, that's what they kind of bonded over.
I could see that.
Interesting. All right, that's all the new information I have on that.
Honestly. So, I mean, is there anything else you saw in those trailers that you wanted to talk about?
I think for me, I think we've hit everything. All the questions we've talked about, all the little things that jumped out of all the trailers. I'm satisfied with it.
All right. One thing I know we should cover, since I threw it out there. I did put up a Muggle poll today.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Dun dun dun.
Now the question is, can I find it again? Let's do this the old-fashioned way. Search for #Muggle poll. That's the way to do it. So I asked everybody out there, which one of these characters are you most looking forward to seeing in the upcoming Fantastic Beasts movie? Gave 4 choices as always. Going with probably the big 4, at least that we've seen in the trailers and such so far, that we think are going to fit into this story. We got Dumbledore, Grindelwald, Newt, and Jacob. So before we get to the results, I want to hear from both of you. Brent, we'll let you go first.
For me, it's going to be Dumbledore.
Yeah.
I'm where they go with that. I'm not as high on the whole Jude Law thing as Josh really is. Like, I think he's probably the best one.
Good protagonist for this story. And I enjoy seeing what he's getting up to. And because we already know what happens with Dumbledore, we don't have all of that story with Newt. And I'm excited to get more of what he went through before he became this renowned magizoologist. I want more of everything that led up to where we, see his name as an author of a book, and that's it.
Sure.
yeah, so I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think that plays into what I was thinking too. Like I talked about it before, I didn't realize how much Newt was going to play into this story, and so that, I mean, I would have said Dumbledore otherwise. Like I know I've mentioned I'm a fan of origin stories, right?
Yes.
And so it like
Maybe once or
it's like getting to dive into his ground, awesome. But Newt, he's kind of like the character. Like we're just getting started with his story, so that it's right there, and I want to see just how deeply involved he is in the overall story that we know already.
Right.
So, everyone out there kind of felt the same way we did. It looks like currently we're sitting at Dumbledore with 46%, Newt with 28%, Jacob at 14%, although I'm sure Josh is disappointed, and 12% for Grindelwald. So fairly spread out, which is interesting to see that it's not completely lopsided, but we'll find out.
People want to see that Jude Law.
Yep.
I think that might be more what it is than actually wanting to know more about Dumbledore's story. Just want to see what Jude Law is actually going to do with the character.
Yeah, wants to see.
I mean, Matt.
Marissa.
Yeah. You're being insufferable. Sorry.
That probably means it's time for me to go.
You have an email to read, though.
Thank you for the reminder. Ooh.
Oh, we have a phone call to take first. No, we don't. They hung up.
Just kidding.
Well,
Watch it be Josh.
Until they call back. Yeah, he's probably mad we haven't read the email yet. So we do have one email that I told people I'm not reading emails tonight, but I have to make an exception for my
have to do this.
my co-host. It would be really weird to read next week. So
yeah.
This email
need to make sure Matt reads it. So
comes in from the Muggle, since he could not join us tonight. It says, "Hey guys, longtime host, first time writer." He would.
Wow.
I want to apologize for not making the show tonight. A very unexpected work trip sent me away for a week, and combined that with spotty Wi-Fi at best, and well, here we are. A live call-in show with new hosts and discussions about my most favorite movie trailer in the history of ever.
Wow.
He likes
higher
his
praise is hard to come by.
Yeah. He really does like this franchise. So, anyway, he continues. Well, I do have some notes I made from listening to the Witch Weekly Takeover episode last week, and I'd like to share them here since there's a good chance I'll forget by the time I get my host chair back. So without further ado.
I'm scared.
Yep. Oh, this says, I can't believe Mel's least favorite character is Davi.
Yeah, I was disappointed too.
Yeah. I have a hard time not liking him at all, but least favorite? That's a bit too far if you ask me. It's okay. Mel, I understand where you're coming from, as Josh knows very well.
We're aware.
But Marissa revealed she's half Slytherin. That figures.
What do you mean did he write that figures, or are you saying that?
No, he wrote that figures. I can forward you the email if I need to, but
I believe you. Me and Josh had to have a discussion.
I feel as a self-proclaimed Slytherin, I feel like I should take offense to that, but I don't actually at all.
Yep. Clarification: when I said La Fleur de la Cour was too pretty to win the tournament, I wasn't thought that, but that she was written that way, which was a shame.
Okay.
Dragons in onesies. Yes. We will make that happen.
It's gonna happen.
All right. I guess we have some work to do.
Yep. I'm glad I put that in his head, so now it's all he's gonna be able to think about. Anyway, go ahead.
Who in the Blue Moon is Rodolphus? Sounds like a name I should totally remember, especially if he's married to Bellatrix, and yet totally blank here. like Jacob after standing in the rain.
Yeah, it's Godric's husband. I don't know what else to tell you, Josh.
It's Josh and names. He does not do so well.
There's a term for him, but this is a family friendly show. I can't say the term, but I'll tell you all later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I understand.
Who is Newt's great grandson?
His name is
Luna's
Rolf?
husband. That's
Isn't it
his
Rolf?
name. Yeah. That sounds
Luna's husband. This is my husband. I think it's Rolf. It's Rolf Scamander.
Things Josh does not know yet because he hasn't dove into.
I understand, but
the
that's
wonderful
who it is.
world of Pottermore and such.
That's the answer. Josh, go to Pottermore and find out. Don't ask us.
Boom. Roasted.
Yeah. Astoria Greengrass is a fake name.
No, it's not. No, it's true, and J.K. Rowling said it. It's on Pottermore. It's on Pottermore. You would know all these things if you went on Pottermore. Okay, I'm done. But Daphne Greengrass is in the story.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing.
Oh.
I'm getting very angry at this email.
Well, he's getting angry at you now. Why didn't y'all RIP Cedric? Or Lupin and Tonks for that matter?
Jeez.
Bad witches.
Daphne's just being ridiculous.
For future Patreon headmistresses, there's totally at least one wizarding school in America you can claim. Just saying.
America.
True.
Wait. Does that mean we have 2 open headmaster mistress / spots?
They could open another one, is what we're saying.
Yeah, we could open another one. I currently only had 3, but that's
or you could just
the Harry Potter series.
If we only get one more and they don't want to be head of Durmstrang, you can just change it to Overmorning.
It's true. I will give you the option. If anyone wants to become a headmaster or headmistress, I will give you the option.
Good times.
You get to do special things like this.
Yeah. As long as you're not in Australia. Poor Mel.
Why no praise for the Muggle predicting all those ships?
You don't have to stroke your ego all the time, Josh. A lot of them, looking back, you probably could have saw coming. And you're an adult, so you know how relationships form. You can keep patting yourself on the back if you want, but
he will.
We weren't going to.
He will.
I know you will.
And okay, we kind of touched on this at the beginning of the show. And Dumbledore was gay. Is that canon? If so, that's great.
Yep.
And yes, Josh, it is. It is. Don't worry. We'll get into that eventually. But like I said, there's a reason I didn't bother covering it during our first discussion because it wasn't brought up until after, and
it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Right. She kind of snapped at somebody, but it didn't matter.
Absolutely right.
I said the same thing about the Lupin and Tonks relationship. It could have been right in front of his face, and he just never realized it.
Yeah.
It's a brick wall, I'm telling you.
So that falls right in.
He was a little preoccupied, though. Let's be fair, Marissa.
I mean, yeah.
He was had his mind on some other things.
He had a Dark Lord after him. I understand.
Yeah. The fate of the known world rested on his 17-year-old.
Oh, puh.
But yeah, Josh's next note is, wait, does this mean his relationship with Grindelwald might have been more than meets the eye?
Yes.
Yeah. Voldy respects bro code. Yes. I almost died.
It's the best.
I like that.
And finally, yes, we totally went on Small World, but more on that next week, I assume.
Okay.
Says, thanks for doing the Muggle-less show. Keep the mics warm for me, and I'll be back. Muggle out.
Yeah.
Boom.
There you go. Well, if we're not getting any more calls, that might be a good way to end this.
Sure.
Can do that.
The phone line is closed.
Sorry, everybody that didn't get in.
And to that person who kept calling and dropping the call, I don't know what happened. Sorry. My apologies. Unless you kept hanging up, in which case I was.
But it seemed to have worked out pretty well. So we'll keep that in mind for the future.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
And we now know how to use it. So, Brent, if the people want to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
You guys can find me across all the social medias at Brent Allen Live. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all called Star Trek: The Essentials, where, if you don't have time to watch 741 episodes of Star Trek, we're breaking it down just to the important ones you ought to watch. These are the good ones. But you can find that Star Trek: The Essentials, both available on your favorite podcasting platform anywhere.
All right. I'm going to interrupt here once briefly for one more email.
Ooh.
By special request from our favorite, Atari Alex.
Yay!
Says, Dear Matt, Marissa, and Brent. I mean, it's properly addressed. Come on.
Yeah.
Says, hey,
3 weeks in a row.
I'm still hoping to call in, but I don't want to miss my chance because of technical difficulties.
That's
And
I
I really don't want my email streak to be broken. So I just want to say that the new Fantastic Beasts trailer really wasn't all that great. Shrug.
What? Hot takes. I don't understand.
You spent the last hour and a half talking about it. What is he talking about?
I don't know.
What? Hot takes. I don't understand.
You spent the last hour and a half talking about it. What is he talking about?
I don't know. Well,
who wrote in about he did the owl joke last week, in case anybody's wondering. And then we have Chosen, which is me watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel for the very first time. Kind of Tales-esque, except it's Buffy. I mean, it's fun. But we also have a Facebook page so people can find the MM Podcast Network all over the place. I think that's
beautiful.
And Matt, where can the people find you?
Now I'm going to screw this up because I'm going to have to fill in for Josh here. But you can find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Otherwise, for all things normal podcast related, you can send your emails to talesfromgodrichollow@gmail.com. But you can also find us on Twitter, the show, at talesfromgh. You can find us on the website, talesfromgodrichollow.com. We have our Facebook page, facebook.com/talesfromgodricshollow. And if you want to become a patron, like our wonderful headmistress here, and actually Brent as well, you are a patron. We appreciate everything you do for us. And if you want to join them, you can go over to patreon.com/talesfromgodricshollow and donate there. I think that's all I really need to mention. Next week, we should be back to normal, back on the normal schedule. We are planning on doing the trip recap episode next week. So I know many of you already have your emails in. If you didn't get your email in this week, well, you have another week to do so. We'll pick up the giveaways and everything next week. So don't worry, it's all still coming, but that's all we got for now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marissa, Brent, thank you so much for being on the show with me. I there's no way I could have done this alone. And
thank you. It was lots of fun.
I'm
great
glad
to be
you
back.
enjoyed it. Wonderful. So, until next week, Professor out.